Yeah, we'll be talking a lot about that game, which looks like one of the headlines of the weekend. Leicester taking on Manchester City. Our fan forum for today is the Newcastle-Tottenham game. So do get your questions in for Robbie, Karen and Darren. Hashtag PLFans if you're on Twitter. Get those questions in. You've got around about half an hour or so to get them in to us. So make sure you send us those questions and we'll get them answered a little bit later. But first, let's start with the opening game of this Premier League weekend. Chelsea against West Brom. Thomas Tuchel will be speaking a little bit later on today, so we can start off by hearing from the away manager, Sam Allardyce.
Start with clean sheets. You start that from that basis and then you build from there. He's done that absolutely magnificently. That's not to say that Chelsea are not very entertaining, because the quality of player they've got at the other end, they are. And obviously I'm very jealous about that. But our players have equalled and matched teams like Manchester United here, Liverpool away, and Manchester City. So we've got to go and do the same to Chelsea on Sunday, and that is play a very, very good tactical game on actually nullifying their strengths. But there's one thing that's going to be very difficult for us, and that's break down that very good defensive unit he's got.
Yeah, it's going to be, look, a tough game for West Brom to come back from the international break too, Karen, isn't it? Because they're facing one of the form teams in the Premier League since Thomas Tuchel has come in, unbeaten in 14 games in all competitions.
2 goals conceded, Jules.
2 goals conceded in that time.
An own goal as well. Yeah. Like, it's just what he's done there. Like I said, I think they've not been the attacking flair that we saw under Lampard, but he's shored up the defence and gone back and got an extra body back in that back three, and they've just been unbelievable. And even I was there at the Atletico game, and Atletico didn't even get anywhere near them. They bullied them. They were front-footed. They were aggressive. You know, they just have an element of control now, which I probably didn't see previously. And what he's done is he's never played the same 11 consecutively either, so he's chopping and changing. And whoever he picks, he's getting the job done. So, you know, I questioned him when he first went in. I thought, what's he doing not playing Mount? What's he doing, you know, managing Callum Hudson-Odoi in the manner that he did? But he's got every decision spot on so far, so credit to him.
I think a good sign was as well, in one of the recent games before the international break, there was a goal which involved Werner, Ziyech and Havertz, the 3 combined for a goal. So he's getting the best now of the new signs as well.
Yeah, when Lampard was sacked, Abramovich put out that statement, didn't he, where he said, look, when I look at the position in the table, I can't see what he described as a sustained path to improvement, which in layman's terms means I don't know where our next win's coming from. But now, when you look at the team, not only are they better defensively, not only are they winning games, not only have they made progress into the latter stages of the cup competitions, but also the players that they bought last summer are making contributions. And so when you talk about those players being involved in goals, that's what you want to see. You want to see where your money's gone. And I think as far as all of those players, even if we look at Havertz, he's only scored 1 goal since November, but he looks to be enjoying his game more. I think next season he's going to be incredible. I'm not too worried about the numbers for this season for him, for Havertz. I think next season's going to be the point at which we see just how good they are. But at the moment, the parallels with City, at the start of this run, defensively, that's what they worked on. Diaz, Stones, they just knew their jobs. But it allowed the other players in the positions further forward to express themselves. That's what's happening at Chelsea, and that's why I think they'll be even better next season.
Who do you think has been the biggest success of those new signings so far, Karen? Because as Darren's pointed out, it has taken a bit of a while for them to gel, some of them to get fit, to get into the team. There's been issues with COVID as well. But who do you think has been the biggest success of those new signings?
I think I agree with Darren. I think Havertz will come good more so next season. I do like him in that number 9 position. I think he starts to press well. He allows the movement. I think Timo Werner's his movement in behind is exceptional. I think he just doesn't adjust his feet quick enough. I think he's so fast, and then when you get to the final third, the best strikers slow down. I think if he can keep doing that, then he'll get goals. But I don't think the new signings have clicked. I can't pick one specifically. I don't think they have. I think what's worked well, especially when the managers come in, he's gone for his senior players. He's got Azpilicueta on side. He's got Alonso back in the team. I think so. It's not the new signings that have really made a big difference. It's the signings that have been there and the senior players that he's given the new roles to.
I think Mason Mount has been incredible. Wasn't picked in his first game. His England performances now. Mason Mount has gone from not playing in Thomas Tuchel's first side, getting hammered by a few when Gareth Southgate was picking him when, from England fans. Now probably first name, one of the first names on both team sheets.
I covered Chelsea for the Daily Mirror, and I remember when he was in the academy, and loads of people were raving about him, and then he was taking that form into the junior sides, and then he got into the senior side, and you're right, lots of people were saying he was Lampard's favourite son. I was at that first game, 0-0 draw against Wolves. All the Chelsea players obviously trying to catch Tuchel's eye, so they're running for their lives. But lots of chances created, no goals, not really anything that caught your eye in the final third. He came on late, and he did more in, the last 15 minutes or so than the other players in that game. And what we've seen since then is not only is he a mainstay for Tuchel, but he's a mainstay for Southgate. Everyone is seeing what you get from Mount when he plays, whether it's creating chances, whether it's scoring goals, decisive goals, crucial goals. Whatever happens as that side evolves, Mount will be involved because he's shown himself to be a guy who can score goals, but more importantly, a guy who can cope with pressure. And playing for Chelsea, there is a lot of pressure on the shirt. You guys, both of you know all about that. But I think as a young player, to do what he's done in this short period of time has marked him down as something very special.
And doesn't Frank Lampard need to take some credit for that? Because you took him on loan to Derby, you know, played well in the Championship, and then put him in the first team. And Frank has given opportunity to young players at Chelsea.
I think he was captain the last game that Frank Lampard was there.
Yeah.
And I think with Mason Mount is, for me, shows a lot of resilience. I think his dad said, don't sign for Chelsea, when I will sign for Chelsea. He's played abroad as a young age. He's gone on loan to Derby. He's had people say, you're a teacher's pet. You know, you're not favourite. You get dropped for the first game when the new manager comes in, the England, and he just constantly bounces back and does his talking with his feet, and he's just ever professional. And I watched him, actually, you spoke about a youth game. I watched him for Chelsea youth playing at Solihull Moors against Birmingham as a youngster, and he just blew everyone away. I think he scored a hat-trick. And he's just got class and just oozes in professionalism, and he's outstanding.
As you say, Karen, he's let the talking really happen with his performances and when he's on the pitch to silence any doubters that potentially could be out there. And in terms of Chelsea's final stretch of the season then, Darren, they currently occupy that fourth spot. They've got that final Champions League spot as things stand. The positive thing for them is that they've beaten the likes of Liverpool and Everton very recently, so they're beating the teams that are challenging for that final spot in those Champions League places. Who do you think will hold on to it? Do you think it will be Chelsea?
Well, it's interesting with those numbers there highlighted because they've drawn 9 games. Only Man United have drawn as many games, and that could be key. Some games you expect them to win. The Leeds game, for example, I expected them to win that game and they were held. And it's so tight that a draw might be the difference going into the final few games of the season. I do expect them to hold on. I thought West Ham would maybe pull off the fairy tale. Spurs are coming like Jaws on the horizon, 3 points away. And Jose, you can't write him off. And also Liverpool this weekend, they play Arsenal. If they win and results go their way, they're 2 points off the top 4. So I still think it will go to the wire. I don't think Everton are involved or any other team. I think it's that top 7 now.
Yeah.
FA Cup, Champions League, still something for Thomas Tuchel's side to concentrate on, though, Karen. How is he going to be able to manage this as well as focus on maintaining that top 4 spot?
Well, I said earlier, he's not picked the same 11, you know, 2 games in a row, and I think that'll be really key going into this. If you're going for multiple competitions, you've got to use your squad and use it wisely, and I think that will go in his favour and keeping players happy and playing them at the right time. I think it's a good game going into West Brom, not to be disrespectful to West Brom, but after the international break, going smooth, and then obviously focus on Champions League, because I think they can win the Champions League.
And also, they've got too many players. I mean, gosh, they've got players coming out of their ears. You know, if they were a little house, you'd see arms and legs sticking out of the windows. Kind of thing. You know, they have got so many players. They can pick different sides. And as you say, the key thing about it is whoever he puts in, they know their jobs. They know what's expected of him, because he's clearly got a standard that he has set.
You're scared not to do it.
Absolutely.
Get dragged off.
As for West Brom, Big Sam, it's going to be his first relegation, is it, as a manager?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at him talking there, and, you know, he always talks a good game. But the big problem at West Brom is this. Last summer when they came up, they should have invested better, and they didn't. And Bilic has paid for that with his job. They've brought in Allardyce to get them out of trouble, but the quality just isn't there. Defensively, they've managed to do a little bit better, but now they can't score goals. Only one in their last 5 matches. So
first start of the day, Dazzler. There it is.
I was trying not
That man is back.
Statman Daz.
I was so trying not to, but I think as far as the numbers are concerned, you can see why they're finished. I mean, for the rest of the season, it's going to be a case of Allardyce probably being the best performer at West Brom, because he does talk a wonderful game, but they can't put the ball into the net. And as you both know, if you can't do that, you can't win football matches.
Do you remember the match earlier this season, Karen? They were 3-0 up against Chelsea, and they ended up drawing the game. It ended up 3-3, and that was very early on in the season. Scoring 3 goals, it kind of doesn't. You don't really associate that with this current West Brom side. But is it results like that early on in a season that can really damage you going forward?
Yeah, it can obviously mentally affect you, but I think, look, over that one game, they've been poor in a lot of games, really. And I think that the signings that he brought in have made a big difference, but the same as what Darren says, they needed a lot more players and more high-quality players, and you finish where you're meant to finish because of the course of the season, not because of one individual game.
Yeah, does it sound then quite one-sided prediction-wise for this one then, Robbie? Let's see what Karen and Darren think. What's the score going to be?
Chelsea win 3-0.
3-0?
I think Chelsea win 2-0. I don't think they're scoring that many goals, and I think defensively they're okay at West Brom, but offensively they don't score goals, and I think Chelsea find a way through 2-0.
All right, well, we'll see what Robbie thinks a little bit later on with Robbie's predictions later. Let's move on to another match now. It's Leicester taking on Manchester City, third versus first. Let's hear from both managers, Brendan Rodgers and Pep Guardiola.